So I'm taking the risk of going for a walk in the rain. I mean, it's just tiny little droplets right now. But this time of year, you never know. This could turn into a total downpour. I have my plasticky jacket on. Not the most comfortable material, but it doesn't matter. What I notice is the extreme difference this year in the forest. Because there was 2 dry years, 2 dry springs before the rains come, all the black oaks are not putting out leaves at all. And we've had, I guess, a week and a half of rain, but normally they put out their leaves before the rains even come, because they know the rains will come. Well, they didn't come. Not in time. Today is July 1st, 2024. And this may be the biggest change I've ever seen in the forest. And it's not just here. It's all in the hills and around. I walk on other people's land and I see that their trees are dead. And, you know, this kind of fits in with my bigger thoughts I've written up about planting for climate change. Because let's imagine for a moment that because of relatively small changes in the climate that have made lakes dry up and done some other pretty extreme things, let's imagine we lost all of the white oaks, which is, I guess, amusing because I've talked about killing off a bunch of them and favoring the black oaks. But I sure as heck don't want them all to die at once. But that's the kind of thing I've been predicting will occur with climate change. Is that there will be times when whole forests will die. And, you know, that's why a lot of the world is desert, where it used to be filled with life. And, you know, in which cases that's due to natural climate change or human caused, is really of less interest to me than the response we can have to being able to survive. Because at the moment, looking at all these white oaks in here that should be filled with small leaves growing rapidly, they don't got any leaves. There's a bird nest up in that one, probably from some other year, because you'd have to be a nutty bird to build your nest in that. If I do, let's imagine it, if I do lose all the white oaks this year, and it won't be all, but, you know, it'll be 90% or something, which is almost the same, then I have a lot more motivation and space, root space, you know, because trees are below ground and above ground. I have a lot of space to put in a massive mix of other kinds of plants. And so as far as my, you know, living seed bank idea and collecting all the most powerful trees and plants in general, trees primarily in the forest, that can replace what's being lost, I think that suddenly becomes a much more real idea. I mean, I could spend $20,000-$40,000 on trees and barely even begin to replace what is being lost. Maybe. I mean, maybe the trees will surprise me and they'll all come back this year. They'll start putting out leaves tomorrow. And maybe it's not as bad as I think. And then we'll just wait for next year and see if the rains are late once again. I mean, there's farmers who have lost this year the whole season. I mean, they're screwed. And, you know, they're not even growing tough stuff to grow. And they're not growing for export or making a ton of money. They're growing just so they can survive. And their animals can live and stuff like that. Of course, I have thoughts about how we raise animals and what we raise them on and how we treat, you know, agriculture in general. So we may need to make some big changes, you know. And who knows, maybe I should try a crowdfunding effort for anybody interested. I don't know why they would care about this one piece of land, but the idea is that this thing would then just be a fountain of seeds and baby trees and plants that we spread over the entire area. It'd be a green genetic fountain. Because the whole area is at risk. And gasoline can get interrupted real easy. That happened once before. Things got shut down because there was so much gasoline theft going on straight out of the pipelines. And suddenly people are lined up with their cars at the gas station and everything shuts down. That's how fragile we are. I mean, I know we think we're so great as humans, but we're kind of like dumb adolescents or something. You know, we just have no fucking clue of the effects of our actions or what the future holds if we do certain things. Not that all adolescents are like that, of course. But adolescents are willing to take risks that sometimes result in their death in ways that an older person might not. I was one, and I was lucky. And I was pretty smart about it. I calculated my risks very carefully. It is just shocking to look at these trees, and it just looks it doesn't look empty, but like this is okay here. This is all black oaks. I guess like there's a white oak over there. No leaves at all. There's a white oak right there. Those two aren't that important. I mean, no one tree is very important, really. It's always funny on TV or on the news. Somebody freaks out about one tree getting killed because they really like that tree. I saw one in, I think, Scotland. And everybody was really upset that this one tree was cut down. And it was the only tree out there. It was between a couple hills. Everything else was just grass. And probably used for sheep grazing. And so all that used to be forest. And they're upset because the last one gets cut down. And I was just like thinking, that's not the problem. The problem is you cut down the entire rest of the forest. You know, and I'm not blaming any one person. This has happened over, 1,000 years or whatever. And the Romans wandered by and took what they could. I mean, Ireland and Scotland have pretty much been denuded. And it's terrible. I was happy when I was there a long time ago in Ireland. I was happy to see some reforestation projects going on. But I fear that those aren't real ones. I fear that they're for tree farming. Not the same thing. To actually rebuild an entire habitat, you would have to dig up sections of earth with living mycelium and reinfect an entire area that has been killed off, really. I looked at a place in India today. It was a great success story. They've changed how they use water. They've changed how it flows across the land. And I was real happy to hear that. And I looked it up on Google Earth. And it's this tiny, tiny little green spot surrounded by just dry death. And I don't know if it was always that way, but I suspect it was not. The places that were the cradle of life, Tigris, Euphrates, all that, cradle of civilization, actually, cradle of life's in Africa for humans. But this place is headed in that direction. And right now it's beautiful. It's got trees all around. It's green with a short rainy season. But that makes it all the more important how we use that water, how we guide it. And, you know, it'll all end up in the lake anyway eventually. So the main thing is to slow its transfer from the hills down to the lake. To have that go slower. Use the earth itself as a storage medium for water. Because water flows under the earth. And so why is there music over there? Fuck. What day is it? This party should be over. Oh well, parties here go for days and days. It's kind of cool, actually. But like even here on this land, like this is a little gully right here. So you barely would notice it if you weren't into like looking at land the way I do. But I want to raise this land right here and keep the water up there longer. And I have the same thought for another 20 spots in this land. I want to make lakes and ponds. And it's okay if they're not all year long. I'm just slowing it down. And I don't have to use plastic. I don't have to make plastic things to give water to monoculture. That's not the goal. The goal is to treat the land differently. Because what's been done is there's pipes up at the springs. All that water goes right down the pipes, 8 kilometers away to town. And people shit in it. And then they have a black water problem they have to solve. That's just the dumbest thing. Of all the people who have written about the water shortages around here, lakes disappearing, they've put in so much work and effort. Like there was guys digging a whole canal by hand so they can keep their island to be an island. I didn't go see any of that because my car's not working. My cool van. But everybody's freaking out about it. I'm the only person, the only one who ever posted that I saw anything about personal water conservation. God, I feel lonely. I feel like I'm just talking into the wind. There is no point. Everybody wants to shit in clean water. I mean, people here are fairly frugal, actually, because they're not rich. But, if you take a shower every day, you're ridiculous. And you may think you live in a place where there's plenty of water. But guess what? You probably don't. Now, when you include agriculture into it, and the water being used to produce your food, which is a whole nother topic, and much more complex. For me, I really like to stay focused on what I can do. I don't shit in clean water. In the last 20 years, well, let's make it 15 because I used to go out a lot more. But I probably have only shit in clean water maybe 6 times, maybe a dozen, I have no idea. But it's not daily. It would be nice to be able to make year-round lakes, and it could be done. The problem here is the rainy season is very short. And I did look at a place in South America, which I like quite a bit, where it has a lot of rain all year. And that has become a very attractive place to me. I've been reading about it. And if I wasn't living here, I would live there. But there's, a lot of reasons why this is like the best place for now and perhaps for decades. I don't like it when people are climate alarmists or environmental alarmists. And they say, oh, things are going to fall apart by this date. 10 years from now, it's all going to go to hell. And what that does is when it doesn't all go to hell, exactly, it does get worse, but it makes people not trust those people, and reasonably so, because the exact nature of collapse is unclear. Right now, the oceans may stop their circulation. If that happens, we're dead meat. Oceans produce most of the oxygen. There are many reasons why. And we can talk about collapse in many different ways, but the point is to be dumb enough to say this is what's going to happen, and then it doesn't happen, then people don't trust you as much. Oh, somebody cut down a little tree over here. That's weird, because I don't think the owner's here right now. Yeah. They cut down this little baby pine. And that pine looks like it was going to make it, although look how dry it is up there. It's looking pretty hurt. All down on this slope, I see a bunch of dead pines. Dead young pines. Young pines that should be strong. So that's it. Nothing really changes for me. Well, yeah, it will change a lot, but it makes what I want to do more urgent, because I may, with all these dead oaks, have an amazing opportunity, not just to have more firewood, which I will definitely have if I want it. I don't really need it. I rarely light a fire. I really only do it if I have somebody over, which has happened one time in some years now. But, I lit a couple other ones, I guess. I hate to lie on video, but, I forget stuff. Yeah, look at this, just all dead baby pines right in here. Now, this is on a north-facing slope. And so they're also competing with the oaks here. And the oaks here are just fine. These are all black oaks. So this is a very healthy forest right in here. This is not the problem I'm talking about in this case. But what this means is I have this opportunity to maybe speed up my schedule, if I can finance it somehow, and plant things that I'll never see. I'll be dead before they're mature. But that is the only solution. My walnut trees died because they were young and I didn't have any water for them. So I currently have, as far as I know, no walnut trees. I had like 5 before. So it's actually a many-year commitment to, especially if you want to get young plants and then grow them. They tend to die. They need more care. So I don't know which one's more expensive, to buy more mature plants, 3 years further along, or a bunch of baby ones. And that depends on whether there's rain next year. And it depends on how much, water storage I can do dedicated towards watering baby plants. And there's labor. It's a lot of work to keep plants alive. So, where am I going today? I guess that's it. I do have somewhere a book called Trees for Dry Climates. And I think I should look at that book again. And I think I marked in there which ones I liked. But I also now have, the internet. So I can go look up these trees. Make sure they're not invasive. Pick, the 20 most valuable ones. Many of which are not going to be in that book. Because my sense of what's valuable is different than theirs. You know, like I want food, I want medicine, I want wood that's useful for making things. You know, like there's ornamentals in there that are still wonderful, and I would still have them. You know, I got space for everything, so really it's better to have, you know, a bunch of groupings of 3 trees of different species than to have a whole bunch of one thing. Because also the other question is, how well can I reproduce that tree? Can it reproduce on its own? Which is both frightening because we want to not be invasive, right? But very helpful because then it will do all the work. Because anything based on human work is fragile. I'm not going to live forever. And to be honest, I don't like doing that work. I mean, we've had things die just because, look at this little doll's head here. In a rain gully. The rains pour off this road down into the gully over there. And there's a creepy doll's head right there. Hello, creepy doll's head. How are you? I'm creepy. Okay, we'll run away from the creepy doll's head. So, I mean, I've got plants that have thrived. I didn't know they would thrive. And so this year I should get some rooting hormone. Probably buy some new rooting hormone since mine is years old. And reproduce the shit out of those. Anything that grows on its own. And that has nice pretty yellow flowers. That one's just kind of a viney thing. Not a climbing vine, just kind of, what do you call it? Twiggy, I guess. It's a twiggy plant. I gotta go.